Hello and hi, YouTube family. Celestial here, and you are tuning into Celestial Evolution. Celestial Evolution. Hello and hi. Thank you for tuning back in. If you are new, welcome, welcome. Today is Thursday, and it is, as y'all already know, Stretch and Talk Day because I have so many thoughts that I want to talk to you guys about. And while I'm doing it, I need to rehabilitate my body because this week I tweaked my back somehow and it is really tight. I don't even know what happened, but that's what we are going to be focusing on today while we talk about the topic for the day, and that is why your reality affects not only you, but everyone around you. So, Thursday today, I told my grandma I promised her that I was going to come and pick her up and give her a massage. So, that is what I did. And my grandmama is my angel. I call her my savior in my life because she truly was the role model growing up that I needed to see as a young woman. You know, in some senses, I take the good and the bad from her, but she cultivated me very much so, taught me the importance of not being soft. In our language, she always used to say, but on air, which means don't be soft. This is coming from a woman who had like 6 children, 5 of them which survived, in a country that was pretty much riddled with uh, communism and oppression, and a husband who was never really there. You know what I mean? He tried to take care of his family and then brought them to America eventually, and then he was here. But over there was all about survival. And she would have to like go get water to feed her family, take them to bath and stuff. So she would walk miles with, buckets on her back and bring it back to the family and beg for food, set your pride aside, and all of these different things that she made sure she told me about to instill the gratefulness that I should have to be where I am today. And I'm that. I'm grateful to this day, and I try to get out of this oppression of the mind, which leads me into, again, why your reality affects not only you, but everyone around you. And what do I mean by your reality? Well, reality is subjective, right? It is something that we project onto the world, or what is reflected back to us in the happenings of the world, right? And not everything as it is as it seems as well. For example, let's say that I'm walking down the street and I see um, a woman stab a man in the back right in front of me, right? And I'm like, oh, she's obviously a murderer and she's killing this man. But what if what had happened was that he had just, committed sexual assault on her, or SA, or whatever the terms are, and she was getting revenge? Everything has its beginning and it has its end, right? Its resolution or lack of sometimes. But everything has a story. Everything has two sides. I guess I want to say everything has two sides to every story, right? So for your reality, let me do this. This one, guys, like I said, my neck is like so tense, and it's like this little tweak in my back that's right underneath my, I believe it's my scapula, and it is tender. So I'm going to take this and I'm putting it at the base of my neck here, like right below my ear. I'm going to pull it forward and it gets that spot so good. So I'm going to be here for a minute. But yes, your reality is all the experiences that you've culminated in your life, how you've woven them, how you've analyzed them, if you have analyzed them, or if you're living in, the victimization of these experiences. or just a pass or a rider of those experiences, not really, you know, interpreting what's going on around you to understand that though are the experiences that you had, it does not mean that that is what the way that it always has to be. If you know anything that you've done in your life, right, it comes from choice. Choice, meaning that I chose to do what I did to get to where I am now. Choice. Some choices, the ramifications or the outcomes are more severe or more prosperous than others. And then there's those small choices that we make every single day that either keep us stagnated, bring us back, or move us forward. And sometimes we don't even know that that's happening because we're not conscious, meaning we're not tying in our choices today to the betterment of tomorrow. For example, I want to get to the best body that I've ever been in, right? I want to cultivate the best body that I will ever have in my life, especially in the prime of my life right now. What do I need to do to get there? I need to make sure that I'm working out consistently, doing things properly, forms, techniques, and cultivating that discipline to go. Next, I need to be wary of the things that I eat. That is my biggest problem. I have, over the course of my life, always been conscious about, food and the way that it affects my body, which is why I've done so many different types of, ooh, oh, so many different types of diets. And this has cemented in my mind the importance of consciousness and understanding that this is not a race, this is a marathon. This journey has taught me that there's going to be moments where you fail, and there's going to be moments that you have successes. But in those small loses and wins, you cultivate a bigger and grander picture, right? So the body is definitely the ultimate goal, but the process is what teaches us how to live in the present moment and understanding that what we plan now, what we do now, will affect us later. And so, as my grandma was in the car today, I'm going to give you a little bit of a personal insight into my life right now. My mother and I aren't speaking, and it's because I don't know who told me these words, but I probably rattled her demons. And I mean demons in a very spiritual manifestation type of sense, okay? And what I mean by that is that I awoke demons in her that diluted her reality, right? These demons that lived in her past and were never dealt with. And when they came into, they manifested, well, in full form, even though they've always lived there, they manifested in full form when I spoke a truth. And so we haven't spoken for a very long time. And this is not a spite against my mother, not at all. What this is an analyzation of life and realities. And when you don't face or own up to your actions, to your current reality, it will manifest itself in many forms that can hurt you and the other people around you. And so I was thinking about that reality that my mother has created, not only for herself, but for the people around her. And I think to myself, you know, how do we get to a point in our lives where we are happy fully? Is that even possible? You know? Or truly, is it a journey? Is it a journey? Because everybody's going around with their own baggage, right? And by chance, with this whole entire thing, because that's how my life works out, I listened to this channel called Philosophies for Life, which I'll link below, because if anybody is interested in philosophy of life, which I really do highly urge you to do, because it just questions the contradictions that is life. Life is a contradiction. And Carl Jung, there's a section on it by Carl Jung that talks about the four stages of life. And he identifies them as athlete, warrior, statement, and spirit. So the athlete segment of your life is usually early on. And he said this necessarily doesn't have to happen in chronological age, but usually that's how life works, right? We end up in stages, like from elementary school into high school to college, right? We learn different truths. So the athlete is basically like in your younger life when you're like a kid up until like about maybe college years or something. And this part of your life is kind of very ego driven. It's like you care about your looks and your image, and nothing else really matters. You're not very empathetic of others because everything is about you, right? And what you're feeling and what you're going through. And that is in part a I think a necessary part of life, to have that selfish period in your life to truly understand what you like, and you can cultivate who you are honestly without having to worry about others. The next portion stage, he talks about the warrior stage, which is when we start becoming more mature and we realize that we need to work towards a purpose, um, and to really excel in our careers, and have make a statement in the world, right? Make a claim, or set our stake in the world so that we have something that will provide us monetary security, and a name for ourselves within the society in which we live. And that is also still ego driven. We're probably still living in that mindset, um, with the athlete and the warrior. But the warrior, this is a very pivotal time, because this is where we are using the most action in our life to cultivate the next steps, which will give us a little bit more of a solid foundation to get into the next level, which he defines as statement. Now, in this period of our lives, after we've gone through all of the stresses that the um, athlete and the warrior had to endure, and now we've had a little bit more time to think about ourselves, and now we have a foundation to where maybe we have just started a relationship that we see going somewhere, and this is where we're the time when we start thinking about family, right? And thinking beyond ourselves into how we can better the people around us. And so in this time, we start to think about legacy. We start to think about how our actions will eventually shape the rest of our lives and the people that we surround ourselves with, the community, our families, our friends. And then that brings us into the last stage, which is that of the spirit. In the spirit stage, this is, in our older age, and we start to understand that in this stage, we look back at our lives and we see that we're not just that good looking or um, popular girl or boy. We're not just the parent we were to our kids. We're not just the spouse we were to our partners. We are not just this physical form that experienced this cycle of life. If we get to be if we get to live to be an old age, and we've lived life pretty unscathed, in a very nice little bubble where we can fully find progression and live towards that, we can find at the end of our lives that we aren't what that journey was, that we're something more, and that what we leave behind will be for the others, the children that we left behind, the communities that we fostered. What we left behind for them is an example of how life can be lived. But for ourselves, in the physical form that is slowly withering away, but our spirit is still very much alive in us, that we know we have a different phase after this one dies. One thing that I would really like to state and make apparent is that in any of these stages, we can be stagnated in any of them. You know, sometimes some people will never get out of that athlete stage, and some people will never find spiritual awakeness, because it truly is a journey of consciousness, right? It is a journey of consciousness. This one's really good for the back too, guys. This right here, if you're like, what I feel this one does is that it stretches my lower lats, and then also my upper delt area, and it feels really, really good. I really need to do this, but it's a journey, guys. It is a journey. It is something that you have to constantly be conscious of wanting, of needing. The evolution of our minds, of our bodies, of our spirits is not a one-time go, you know, it's not a one day I'll wake up and find maturity. No, it's living it, breathing it, and walking in the path of whatever you want to cultivate in this life, good or evil, because we're all different, right? We have different um, pro- we have different aspirations in life. But to sum up, because this could be a very long video, please understand that if you aren't conscious about life, and if you're living within those demons that were never resolved, that were never faced, that you never had the courage to stand up against, you're going to live in purgatory in this life. And that's going to, if you have children, sometimes cause them to be stagnated at a certain point in their life because they never saw somebody get out of it, you know? Of course, that is going to be their plight to face when they get there, and that's why we can't blame other people for our problems, because as I said, when we're on this road and we get to a point of consciousness of our own and saying, I'm the one who chooses this life and the things that I do every single day, despite the circumstances that I was raised in or the lack of resources that I had, we choose our lives and how we can make the best of it every single day. You know, I have a lot of demons myself, demons that I have to constantly fight on the daily. And the only way that you can fight your demons is with the sword of good, the sword of the righteousness that you want to live in. I'm not speaking good or evil, I'm just speaking about fight for your truth. You know, abate all of the other truths that were impinged and forced on you. And the only way that you can do that is by merit. And to fight against it and say, no, I'm not going to allow you to override me anymore. You're not who I'm supposed to be. I know who I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to fight for it every single day. Find your purpose in this life. Make sure that you cultivate it enough to stand strong in it, in strength, and don't be apologetic about life. You know, make your mistakes and explain it away. You know, stand in your truth. But that is what I wanted to talk to you about today, because, hey, we all live in a reality, in the realities that we project onto the world, and know that we need more good, healthy cups to overflow onto people and to give people hope that there are good people out there who are enjoying the journey rather than being imprisoned by it, or victimized by it, because it's just living its purpose to create the matrix in which we live. So, again, thank you very much for tuning in. You have been tuning into Celestial Evolution. My name is Celestial. What's up, what's up, what's up? Please do like. If you like me anymore because you watch more of my videos, subscribe. If not, just come back and chill with me a little bit and talk a little bit and yeah, get your stretch on. But in the meantime, keep looking, learning, and evolving, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.